Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today we're going to work on a hooded scarf. So as always, I don't like to dawdle, so let's get started. So as you saw in the beginning of the video, that yarn I used was a Mandela gradient. It is a dark teal and it's a really nice yarn. It's nice and soft. It works up really great and that's what it looks like. Um, You use a 5.5 millimeter hook, or you can use a 4 millimeter um, for knitting. So I'm going to use this alpaca wool here, and I'm going to use a 6 millimeter hook. For the teal, I used a 5 millimeter hook. So let's begin. Okay, so let's get started with our chain. I'm going to make an even number of chains. In the video, I used a 5 millimeter hook. In this video, I'm going to use a 6 millimeter hook. So go ahead and make your slip knot and insert your hook and make as many chains as you need to. You are making it the width of your neck, or rather the length of your neck. So this is going to be a short chain. I'm going to make my chain and I'll be back. Okay, so I have my 19 chains here, 20, sorry. Go ahead and skip your first stitch and go into skip your first chain and go into your next chain with a single crochet. And then in your next chain, you're going to make a double crochet and just repeat that across alternately, single crochet, double crochet, that is your griddle stitch. So when I come back, I'm going to have a number of rows here. I'm only going to have a few because I'm going to make a small version for you. But if you want to make it longer, just make as many rows as you want to, nice and long so that it can wrap around your neck. Really nice. It looks like I have a lot of chains here, and I do. I just realized that I had too many chains. So I'm going to continue with my rows, and when I come back, I will have the number of rows that I would like to have, at least enough for this demonstration so I can show you how to do it right. So I will be back. Continue your stitches. When you get to the end, you should have a single crochet at the end of the row. Chain one, turn your work, and keep going. Always start off with a single crochet and end with a single crochet. I'll be back. Okay, so I have 40 rows here. As I said, I'm not going to make it very big. I just want to show you the basics and the steps on how to make this hooded scarf. So it's very nice pattern. The griddle stitch is a great pattern. It gives it a nice raised texture. So try to use a nice pretty dark yarn or a bright yarn. Anyway, so now we're going to work on going around with our single crochets. So when you get to your last and final row, when you're done, you can go ahead and start off. We're going to make our single crochets going all the way around the garment. So I did want to show you how to count your rows when you make the griddle stitch, because as you can see, it's kind of scrunched together. You can't tell which is one row from the next. These are the individual rows, but the way that you can count them is by columns. So each of these columns here is 2 rows of your griddle stitch. So that'll make it easier to count. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row where I made my last single crochet. Now I did chain one, do not chain because we're just going around. Make your single crochet, add 2 more single crochets to that same space. And now you're going to make 1 single crochet into each available space going all the way around. When you get to your corners, you're going to make sure you put 3 single crochets into those corners. So I'm going to keep doing this, going around my garment. Make sure to put those 3 single crochets in the corner and make your way around, and I'll be back. When you get to the end of the row, you should have whatever number you have of your chains is the same number of single crochets you should have when you get to the bottom of that row. So I'm going to continue on and I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see here, I added a stitch marker. I have my 3 single crochets here. I put a stitch marker in that second single crochet of that 3 group, and I did the same thing on this end here. That is in the second single crochet of that 3 single crochet group that you make in the corner. This is the front portion of, this is the correct side of the scarf. So now I'm going to make my last single crochet here on the end. Well, actually I'm slip stitching, sorry. And I'm going to chain one and I'm going to cut off my yarn. Okay, so I've cut my yarn and now we have 41 single crochets going all the way to the end. 42 divided by 2 is 20.5. So what you want to do is count your stitches from your stitch marker and all the way up to stitch 21. Okay, I always put my hook in there so that I don't miss my place. That's the 21st place. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a stitch marker and put it in to that same space as your hook. Okay, so now once we've established where this stitch marker goes, this is your middle, the very middle of your scarf. So I'm now going to remove my hook and we're going to continue. So now 20.5 divided by 2 is 10.25. So now you're going to count from the beginning. You're going to count from that middle single crochet of that group of 3 that you have there. You're going to count all the way up to your 11th stitch. And go ahead, I'm going to put my hook here. Always do this so that I don't miss my place while I'm grabbing my stitch marker. And now I'm going to add a stitch marker here. So that's how you do that. You do the exact same thing to the other side. Count your stitches from where your stitch marker is up until you reach 11. Go ahead and put your hook or some type of placeholder so you can grab your stitch marker. And you can always switch your stitch markers out. And that's how you do that. That's how we're going to establish how wide you want the hood to be. If you want the hood to be wider than that, you can always bring your stitch markers a little bit closer to the end. So we're going to go ahead and continue from here. Okay, so I've weaved all of my ends in. I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker right here in this space so that I can begin. We are going to start with the we're going to continue with the griddle stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to go here and make a slip stitch and then go back into that same stitch with a single crochet. And then my next stitch will be a double crochet. So we're continuing our griddle stitch all the way around. The only time we will make any single crochets going around is when we're edging up our piece here, our project. So I'm going to continue making our griddle stitch back and forth. You make this as long as you want, as high up as you want. When I come back, I'm just going to have a couple of rows here so I can show you what to do from there. So keep making your rows as high as you want to, and do try it on so that it's not too high up. You don't want it to be too big and come too far forward because we're going to add some edging on there. So I'm going to continue on and I will be back. Okay, so as I said, I've only done a few rows. I came up a few rows. This is what it should look like as you're making your way up. You make your rows as long as you want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to fold it on the wrong side out. Okay, because now we got to bring the hood together. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly. Again, do not follow how many chains I've made or whatever you make the amount you need to for your garment. Okay, so now go ahead and insert your hook into that first panel and then into the first single crochet of your next panel here and make a slip stitch. Now your first one is always the hardest because it's so tight. You might want to pull up on your loop a little bit, but then you don't want to have like a sagging kind of loop. So you're just going to do this all the way across. I'm not going to torture you with me trying to get this through here. But you go ahead and go all the way across. And when you get to the end of the row, go ahead and chain one and then bind off. And we'll continue from there. When I come back, I will have the other garment, the one that I showed you in the beginning of the video, the gradient teal. I'll be back. Okay, so this is the teal one that I made, the gradient. And what I did was after I finished my last stitch, I made a chain one and I went ahead and cut off my yarn. And then I continued with my pattern. Now I only went back and forth with my pattern for a few rows. I kind of like my hood to come a little far to the front. So you can make as many rows as you want, as far forward as you want to. And then I came around with some single crochets around the entire garment. That includes the scarf area. So right here, as you can see, this is the scarf, the bottom part. And here is your hood where I made all of my slip stitches and then turn it around to the front. So go ahead and do that. When you get to the corners, make 2 single crochets right there so that you can make your way around nice and gradually. This is only when you're finishing off and you're finishing off the edge right here. I think I did about 6 rows here. I think I did, but again, that's your preference, how far forward you want to go. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to come back and she's going to be on the mannequin so I can show you what she looks like. Okay, so this is what she looks like. I am quite pleased with this project. I'm going to go ahead and turn her to the side. Sorry, I have to get a new mannequin, but I'm going to turn her to the side so you can see what that hood looks like. You have all of your stitches there. And as I said, I like to come pretty far forward to the front, but I am in love with it. You can tie it in the front or you can just wrap it around and tuck it under like I have here. This is what the back looks like. I'm going to show you what that front portion looks like really quick. It's nice and thick and it snuggles the neck really good. And so again, that's what the side looks like. Okay, and this is what she looks like in the front. I just went ahead and went and tucked that under right there. And I can wrap it around if I want to. If it's nice, in this area here with I guess you could call them lapels. I don't know. You can add some buttons here if you want to, but I prefer not to. I can just wrap the scarf around. So I want to thank you for watching this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.